Hey there, second grade. How you doing? It's me, Tolly's dad. And I came back because I wanted to make a little video, um, a little addition to my presentation last week. And I heard you were learning about time, and I wanted to talk to you about watches and clocks and how they keep time. One of the reasons I wanted to do it is because it perfectly connects with um, with my presentation last week, because I had mentioned it at the end of my talk when I think it was maybe Peyton noticed that I was wearing this watch that is clear. Okay. And yeah, you can see all the parts, and I'm going to show you a better look at this with my dock cam here. And but the reason I wore this watch that day is because I was teaching you about tuning forks and vibration and sound. And I did want to show you that there is a tuning fork inside of your watches and your clocks. All modern watches and clocks, well, most have tuning forks in it to keep time. So I'm going to show it to you, but let's think about how does it keep time? Well, remember, this tuning fork is bouncing back and forth. And in fact, it bounces back and forth at a very regular vibrations. Like it's always the same. It's usually, for example, I think it's an A note is 440 times it vibrates a second. So the trick to keeping time is that if you can count 1, 2, 3, we call those periods. So if you can count the periods, then when you get to 440, for example, if it was a tuning fork that had an A tone, then when you hit 440, you would say, oh, that's 1 second, and you would tick the second hand, right, on an analog clock. All right. Now I'll show you. We'll talk a little bit about analog clocks, but you all probably have one in your classroom, right? And I'm going to show you the inside of this thing. Okay, but I'll come back to it. So, but again, let me show you the ticking. That is all happening because it's counting the vibrations of the tuning fork inside. All right. But that tuning fork is really fast. All right. But I wanted to show it to you. So now I'm going to go to the dock cam. And so let me share my dock cam. So here I brought a couple of watches. I'll come back. This is an old watch. I'll come back to that one. So these are modern watches and a modern clock. And they all use the tuning fork. All right. So let me bring the one I was wearing. So I'm gonna there we go. Perfect. Focus it. So right here, so you can see the inside of this watch right here. You see that sort of orange? It's normally not orange, but because this watch is see-through, they colored it. But this thing right there, it's like a little cylinder. It's a metal cylinder. It's orange. Inside of that little thing right there is a tuning fork. Okay. And then and then there's gears to make the hands move. But right there, you all see that red sort of, this red thing right here. I'll show it to you on the back side. Here's where the battery goes. And you can also see more gears. Oh, you can even see it moving. Okay. But right there, that is the motor. So here's what happens. Inside of this cylinder, a tuning fork is vibrating. And when it hits a certain number, depending on this one actually vibrates at a really fast, like 32,000 times a second. So when it counts and it gets to 32,000, this motor says, okay, I'm going to make, it's called a stepper motor. It makes the second hand step. And when this steps one time around, then because of the gears, the minute hand will move a little bit, and then same with the hour hand. After the minute hand goes once around, the hour hand will move, 1 hour's worth. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's nice to be able to see through it. So that's why I have this. I like to show it off. But I also want to show you that even ones that are not see-through have those two things. They have the motor. Well, they have the motor if they have hands. If they don't have hands, they don't need the motor because they don't need to move anything. But they always have the tuning fork inside. All right, so let me show you. So here's another watch, and you can see it ticking. It's even got a day, but it's not the right date. It's not even the right time, I don't think. Oh, actually, maybe it is. So you got the second hand ticking. Now I already opened the back of the watch so we could see it. So here it is. Now check this out. Look at that. You see that cylinder, right? That silver, that's what it's usually silver, not painted. And this copper colored, let's see, it's hard to see it, but this one right here is the motor to make it tick. So that's the stepper motor, and there's the tuning fork that vibrates. And if you can count the number of vibrations that equals a second, the motor will then make it tick. Okay, so there's that one. And then check this out. So these two are digital watches, and they don't have hands. All right, they just display it on the screen. You don't need a motor. All right, so you will not find a motor, but they still need to measure time, so they still have the tuning fork. All right, and check this out. This is a calculator watch. Did you know you could have a calculator on your wrist? All right, probably can't use it on an exam, but still pretty cool. Okay, now this one I didn't open up. I'm going to leave it closed, but this one I opened up for you so that we could look inside, and look at that. Now again, there's no motor because there's no hands, but look right there, and I could probably flip up this piece of plastic so you can see better. Right there is your silver tuning fork. All right, now you can't see the tuning fork itself because it's inside, but I have a picture to show you that'll show you what it looks like inside. Okay, so there you go. Now I did want to show you also the clock that's on your wall. Now this one is oh, actually, let me stop sharing for a second. So this one is this is in our dining room. So I'm not going to take this apart. I'll probably get in trouble if I break it. So, but I got another one that I already started taking apart, and cheapo one. So I already took off the hands, and well, let me go back to this one real quick. I wanted to show you that if you look in the back of every clock that is on modern clocks that are on the wall, you'll see a box like this. Okay, and I'm going to show you that box. I'm going to take it apart. So let me come back to this one. So I took this one apart. Notice you'll probably see the word on many clocks on the walls. You'll see the word quartz. And the reason is because quartz is the material that the tuning fork is made out of. So all these watches are called quartz watches because if they have that tuning fork, then it's called a quartz watch because it's made out of quartz. Okay. All right. So now let me go back to the dock cam. Let me share. Actually, real quick before I do that, let me show you the picture of inside. Check this out. So imagine there was a cylinder around here, and I found this picture on the internet, and somebody was able to take off the cylinder cover without damaging the tuning fork. And here's two pictures. Look at that. There's the two sides of the tuning fork. All right. So that's what it looks like inside that little cylinder. All right. So now let me share my dock cam. So I'm going to come back to here. All right. So we saw these, but here is here's that box that was on the back of this clock. So this behind and went through this hole, and then the hands attached to that. Okay. And if I look, even before I open it up, you'll see here's where the battery goes. Okay, so they're all battery powered. And look right there, you can see the motor already because it's got to be able to move those hands. Now, this motor is a lot bigger than the ones in the watches because the hands, are much bigger. Here's the second hand, much bigger. So it's going to need a bigger motor. And then you can already see the gearing. Okay, so we're about to pop it open. I'm going to do it right in front of you right now, just for fun. And it's okay if I'm expecting to break it. All right, so I'm going to pop it, see if I can get it. All right. And the gears are probably going to fall apart. Oh, not too bad. All right, cool. Now, here's the motor, but I want to find the quartz tuning fork. All right, so let's start taking it apart. Okay. Look at that. These are all, look at what's in. Here it is. So this is, oh, you can already see it under there, but there's the little motor. Look at that kind of bouncing because it has magnets. And this is the motor that'll make this turn. It'll make it step, and then it'll move the other gears. All right. Now let's see if I can. Oh, more gears. All right. And oh, there it is. Look at that. Right there. There's my quartz tuning fork is inside there. All right. So this is a much bigger version of what's in these watches, but it's all the same. All right. Now, one other thing I'll show you. I'll show you an old watch that before, these are called mechanical watches, and this is before quartz. So now most things are quartz. But if you want an old watch, let me focus it. There we go. So look at this. So this has no tuning fork, but it still needs to measure sort of vibration. Okay. So what this is, you got this wheel and it's on the spring and it just bounces back and forth. Okay. Back and forth, back and forth. And those back and forths, this watch can count them and move the second hand. Okay. And then, now watch this. I'm going to wind it. So it doesn't have battery, but it has a spring inside that can create the energy. So you wind up a spring. And then, well, there it goes. And once you wind it enough, oops, got stuck. See if I can get it going. There it goes. So now you wound it, which replaces the battery. You don't need a battery if you have a winding watch. And then it uses that sort of stored up energy in the spring to make that wheel bounce back and forth, and it counts those vibrations to measure time. All right. So that's an old watch, but again, most of your watches and clocks are going to be based on the quartz tuning fork. All right. Awesome. Well, I hope that wasn't too much, and I hope that was interesting. And I'll see you later.